did then. We'd short sheet and put sugar in the bed and maybe snitch their perfume. And we also had people that were not very nice about keeping themselves as they should. They'd try to cover it up with perfume and never have their clothes cleaned. And, I mean, little things that nobody ever... I mean, to me, when I read a book, I look for those little things. That's what makes it worth reading. And I shouldn't have gotten off on that, but that's been an irritated position with me and a lot of people for some time. And I think the last reunion we had 2 years ago, I was in charge of registration. And I think we had the nicest bunch of people come in for that reunion out of all of them we've had, because they were the average person that was up here in those days. They were the machinists, the typical, you know, worker. Not the, we had some of the scientific people, but not as many as we had had before. And they mixed together. They enjoyed each other. And that's what they come for. You might have if you were up there, you might have noticed how they got together and talked, and they didn't want to go over to the dance. They wanted to stay there and get acquainted. Some of them had never been to a reunion before, and they were thrilled. They'd gotten their kids grown, and they could afford to come. And I'm glad we had that one, and I had the chance to be there to talk to them. The times before, the people have been kind of cliquish and did not mix at all.
So that this past reunion
was the best one we've had, I think. I would have thought the first one would have been the best. But unfortunately, at that time, we got most of the higher echelon. The last time we got the middle. Just like in society, you've got your high, your middle, and so-so. But I thought that was the best one we've had. Not because I was on credentials, because all I did was go up there and take care of it. I didn't even go to the dance. But everybody I've heard from enjoyed themselves immensely.
I've heard that too, that from other people we've interviewed.
Well, they were new, and this made a big difference. Now, I don't know what we'll get 3 years from now. You can't tell. We're fastly dying off. I'm one of the youngest, so you know there's not too many left.
Well, that's what makes trying to do these things important at this point in time.
Well, I told my husband the other day after I talked to him, I said, I don't think I'm going up there and talk to him. I was just a little peon, and I didn't really know anything about what went on during, except for myself and how it affected me. It definitely had an effect on me. But he said, my son said, go ahead. Tell him some of your crazy jokes. But as I said, I try not to hurt people's feelings, and very few people realize that when they know me that I've been here that long. I think Betty Robertson is one of the few people who said, why don't you go out and talk to the society? I said, I don't have anything that they'd be interested in.
Oh, you definitely do. How did you spend your free time, and with whom?
Well, I had 2 or 3 boyfriends, and I went to the movies, and I'm a great reader. And I'd go to Santa Fe when they'd give me a day off. You know, we got 1 day a month. And went dancing. That's what we did. We'd have dances on the weekends. We'd go to Santa Fe shopping. And as I said, I'm a great reader. We'd go to the movies. That's about all we had to. Then we'd go up to picnics up at Santa Cruz. We'd hike out, as I said, toward the mountains and take picnic lunches. We found our own amusement. This day and time, the kids can't do it, but back in those days, we could find out things to amuse ourselves. Now, a lot of people found it in the PXs. I never found it there.
Where did you feel most comfortable?
I felt most comfortable out in a picnic or reading. I like movies. In those days, we had some good ones. But I never was one to drink, so I never fooled in the PX very much. If you know what I'm talking about there. I can't tell you much about what went on there, so I don't know.
Did you ever feel isolated up here?
You mean from the rest of the world?
Well, from the rest of the world, or just at loose ends.
No.
Personally, did you ever feel isolated?
The first year, I felt kind of like I wanted my mother. I missed my mother. I guess you can tell I was rather young and rather protected when I was being raised. And I wanted to be with her. in the first year, I was very unhappy, like a lot of them. And then I went home on furlough, and I got into Georgia in May when it was so hot, and I come back a week early. Since then, I've been here, and I haven't cried a bit. It's a place I planned to live my life.
You obviously didn't go to Trinity site, but do you remember where you were when you heard about the Trinity test?
Yes, we were in the office. We were working. The boys went off, and we were told they were going down to Trinity site, and we didn't know what Trinity site was. Of course, we didn't find out until the next morning after they had exploded the bomb what they were doing down there. They didn't even know. They were just told to get ready to go on a bivouac. And they got down there and found out what they were in. See, no one really knew what was going on except the nucleus of the people that made it. This group worked on that part, that group worked on that part, and of course I was sitting over with the engineers and wondering what they wanted some of this stupid stuff for, because we were told to have it in here. They'd call us one afternoon and say, get this in here by tomorrow afternoon. In those days we didn't have any worries about money. We had an open budget. So we'd just get on the phone and say, fly this in here, and it could be as high as $1 million. Just no telephone, no order ever written. No, I bet nobody knew that.
That's just what I was going to pick up on. You mean there were no requisitions,
No.
purchase orders?
No. We would get on the phone. I wouldn't, because I was still a little peon, I'll call myself, or, just a secretary. And the boss would get on the phone, and he would call, let's say, Eastman Kodak, and say, we need so much film in here by 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and it'd be here. And no purchase order was ever written.
And were you responsible for paying the bills out of your
No,
office?
but that was handled in a different section. That was handled under accounting, and I was in procurement. No, we handled the buying, they handled the paying.
And you never gave them a paper trail?
I don't remember a paper trail ever being anywhere. Now, this is very little, I don't think this is well known.
No, that is a very, you're the first person who said that. I mean,
Well, I'm probably one of the few people that know it. It's a dead issue now, but we would have never gotten the bomb made within the time frame we had if we'd have had to gone through all of the paper shuffling that I had to do when I retired just to get maybe a can of paint in here. So you can see we were not hampered. We were told to get it, and that's what we did. Now, if we had time, we put an order, a confirming order out, but I do know there was times orders were never written.
You were mentioning the men went down to Trinity site without knowing
Yes.
from your group, and when they came back, what did they tell you when they came back, and what were their reactions, or how did
They didn't talk about it. They wouldn't talk about it. They were told not to talk about it. They did not discuss it until after Japan surrendered.
Was there an atmosphere of excitement, though? Or
Oh, we were kind of thrilled. We didn't know exactly what it was all about. We knew that they had detonated a bomb, and at that time we didn't know we intended to use it for the purposes that we did. In fact, I don't think maybe anybody but Mr. Truman knew that, or President Truman. He didn't know up until the last minute whether he was going to authorize it. So actually we didn't know or talk about it until after the 2 bombs were set off. And then, of course, after Japan surrendered, it was a madhouse up here for a couple of days. Everybody celebrating, nobody working, and we just having a ball. But nobody talked about it. Not in, where we were. We were told not to talk about it. The boys down there were told not to talk about it. I understood. In fact, I don't think they knew what they were really seeing except something spectacular. They were like I was, just youngsters out of school. And
do you remember where you were when you heard about the bombing of Hiroshima, and do you remember if you had any immediate reactions at that time?
me think. I think we heard about it, the Hiroshima.
Yes.
I don't remember we thought too much about that one. It was just another bomb to try to get our boys